he is one of my only friends I've ever had. So shout out to Randy Orton and Matt Riddle. Randy Orton also said this is the most fun he's ever had in a run in WWE, and I can't blame him. He looks like he's enjoying himself. So going to WrestleMania for Raw Tag Team Champions, that changes the card completely, in my opinion, if they don't pull the trigger on a split and have them feud like Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero did at WrestleMania 21, then we don't get a Riddle-Orton match till probably SummerSlam. But if they do, that would be fun to see. Either way, I love Randy as a face, and if they do split him, I would actually love to see Riddle turn heel. I think that'd be fun. We then got Dana Brooke in a 24/7 championship match. Before the match, she kissed Reggie, and then before the match, Tamina kissed Akira Tozawa. Her and Tamina had a nice little match, nothing too big. Akira Tozawa, after a match, said Dana Sheehan, then declared his love for Tamina, said she is the love of his life and wants a kiss. Tamina left and blew a flying kiss right at Tozawa. Nice little segment, nothing too bad. It was not the mediocre segment of the show, not the worst segment of the show that's about to come, which was the Miz and Logan Paul's homecoming. I had no clue, by the way, that Jerry Lawler was originally from Cleveland. I always thought he was from, I believe, Tennessee. But I guess not. I guess originally Jerry King Lawler grew up in Cleveland. They had Jerry King Lawler come out and name some saves just to get a little cheap pop. He then said, I think Cleveland should get a WrestleMania, which I don't know about because of one thing, the weather. Cleveland's a very cold city, apparently, and if it was to get a WrestleMania, I think it would just be too cold. Hell, I know when New York holds it in MetLife, that's why I've always said MetLife needs to be a fucking dome. Cleveland, I believe, would have the same problems of it would be just a wind tunnel and everyone would be sitting there with jackets on, freezing their asses off, except for the wrestlers who compete in a heated piece of the stadium, because for those of you who don't know, that's where a lot of the, under the padding, there's a lot of heat coming from it, so they actually feel warmer. That's how they perform in such cold weather a lot of times. But I still don't think Cleveland gets a WrestleMania for that reason. Not because it couldn't handle it, not because of the infrastructure. They could easily handle it. If it was a dome, WrestleMania would easily be in Cleveland. But that's the only reason why, in my opinion. The crowd was cheering for Miz at first, and then when Miz said WrestleMania would never be hosted there, they completely turned on him. He then left the ring, and thank God this segment was over. This is the worst segment in WWE this week. I have no problem saying that. The worst segment this week. After this, the Street Profits noted that they might face RK Bro for the Raw Tag Team Championships at WrestleMania, which I would love to see. Maybe it'd be a triple threat match, RK Bro, Alpha Academy, and RK Bro, because apparently Owens and Rollins might have something else going on. I'll get to that in my WrestleMania card review. We then got another tag team. It was the night of tag team matches, by the way. I gotta say that. NXT Champion Braun Breaker and Tommaso Ciampa versus the Dirty Dogs. Breaker and Ciampa were able to get the upper hand on these two, but it didn't end the way Braun Breaker and Tommaso Ciampa would have liked, as we had Dolph Ziggler saying, what's going to happen tomorrow when you're focused on Ciampa and I strike and get the title that I've never held and finally get the NXT Championship. That'd be fun to see. I would love to see Dolph Ziggler as NXT champion, but I would also hate to see the end of Braun Breaker's reign. I think Tommaso Ciampa is ready to go main roster if he wants to. If Tommaso Ciampa wants to. If he wants to stay in NXT, you know what? He's earned that fucking right. He's earned that right. He built that brand, man. Him and Johnny Gargano in the Undisputed Era. And as much as you want to hate to say it, Sanity built NXT. That is the house that they built. people like Sami Zayn, KO, and Seth Rollins. You can't name NXT without DIY, Seth Rollins, KO, Sami Zayn, Samoa Joe, Finn Balor, Sanity, in my opinion, and Undisputed Era. Without them, there is no NXT. And Tommaso Ciampa, when the history of WWE and NXT is written, Tommaso Ciampa will be on every page. So if he wants to stay in NXT, he's earned that fucking right. But if he wants to go main roster, he's earned that right too. So wherever Tommaso Ciampa goes after this match, I don't see him becoming NXT champion, but wherever he goes, that's where he deserves to be. After this, we got another almost match where he defeated Apollo Crews in a very solid, easy match. Almost then has stare down with Commander Aziz. They're kind of hinting at a WrestleMania match here. I hope they don't go for it. I hope that they save this for maybe WrestleMania Backlash. And maybe have Almost and Aziz have a face down in the Andre Giant Battle Royal, which is why I think it's going to be on the pre-show. That's one of the matches I have written down. I really hope that this match doesn't get a WrestleMania time. I don't want to see these two giants battle at WrestleMania. That's just my opinion. We then got Edge and the new heel persona coming out. You had You Think You Know Me come out, the start of his theme come out, and then lights go out, just a nice purple haze. Edge comes out dressed in his suit and just looks at the crowd, and this is all he says to the crowd is, "You think you know me?" And then turns to the camera and addresses AJ Styles, who's at home. He says, "You might want to put the kids to bed, and hell, you might want to send wifey to sleep because she doesn't want to hear this either." He then talks about how at WrestleMania it's over for AJ Styles, and he will be phenomenal. Very good, Matt. Very good promo. We know Edge cannot deliver a bad promo. It's impossible for him. He even made the John Cena father thing work, so impossible for Edge to deliver a bad promo. We then got Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan versus the Women's Tag Team Champions. And if Rhea and Liv win, they will be added to the WrestleMania 38 Women's Tag Team Championship match, and it will be a triple threat. And wouldn't you know it, Rhea and Liv pull it off. Rhea and Liv are added to the match after Carmella got distracted while talking to Corey Graves about their wedding. Very good little thing there, but at the same time, when I watched their show, I may have given it a little bad rating before. It's funny, but at the same time, it's not. They go a little too far, a lot too far at times, but at the same time, they still have that comedy factor. So, still shit to go through, but still a lot of things that I'm not very happy about. But Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan are on the WrestleMania card. It is now a triple threat match for the Women's Tag Team Championships. I'm excited for that. That's a good match. After this, we got a United States Champion Finn Balor versus Austin Theory match, trying to reunite their rivalry. Austin Theory would lose this match via DQ after Damian Priest got involved. Damian Priest would trying to choke slam Finn Balor, but not really. He would set up Finn Balor for a choke, and that caused the DQ. So Finn Balor and Damian Priest looks like it's going to be for WrestleMania, and I have no problem with that. I'm excited for that. And then finally, in your main event, we got KO saying, "I figured out a way to get to WrestleMania. I'm going to host the Ultimate KO show." And he started listing off guests he could have from Texas, Booker T, JBL, bunch of other people. And he said, no. The only person I want to host is that rat Stone Cold Steve Austin. He calls him out. And apparently at noon today, we'll get the answer. Stone Cold, I hope you turn him down and you say, "I'm not showing up for a show, son. I'm showing up for a match." And you kick his ass at WrestleMania, boy. Do it. Do it, Rattlesnake. They'll have a beer with you. So Stone Cold versus KO looks like it might be set up for WrestleMania. It was a good Raw, not great. C+, B-. A lot of bullshit, but at the same time, a lot of good shit. You had Seth Rollins, after losing the tag team match, looking very dejected, looking out into the crowd, going. You could see the wheels turning in his head. Like, if he signs, I have a match at WrestleMania. If he doesn't, I probably don't. And I'll get into that later. But for now, last week I covered the most underrated WrestleMania, in my opinion. Now it's time for me to talk about a WrestleMania that sold out so quickly. I believe it sold out in 14 seconds because of the main event. The attendance has been disputed, of course, by Dave Meltzer. 80,000 people packed MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, my home stadium, where I went to go see the Jets, play the Vikings so many times. I love that. I hate that stadium, and I love that stadium. It should be a dome. 2013, WrestleMania comes home was the talk. That was the tagline. WrestleMania comes home. Kicked off with The Miz versus Wade Barrett for the Intercontinental Championship. Now, the original talk was this may be Chris Jericho versus Wade Barrett. Chris Jericho going for a 10th record reign, but Vince McMahon wanted to pair him with Fandango. And when Chris Jericho asked him, why can't I go for your Intercontinental Championship? He said, no one cares about the fucking Intercontinental Championship. So, that's always a fun little story for me. You know, get another part of that story going into the match he had with Fandango later on. But The Miz took on Wade Barrett and was able to win the Intercontinental Championship. He is still one off from the record of Chris Jericho, 9 reigns. But The Miz defeats Wade Barrett on the pre-show in a very nice, I thought it was a good match, 8-minute match. There were only 9 matches on this card. Shows how far we've come from now to where it's 16, 17 matches on the card. And we're like, oh, they're shortening it this year. You know? So it always makes me smile when I see that. But to kick off the main show, we got The Shield versus the team of Big Show, Randy Orton, and Sheamus. These are all people that The Shield have feuded with. These are all people that The Shield really have pissed off. The Shield were able to pick up the win here because of disjointment between Sheamus and Randy Orton. The Big Show then turned heel and attacked both his tag team partners with giving them each a KO punch and basically taking out the ring. Very good match, very good way to kick off WrestleMania. I enjoyed that match. We then got Mark Henry versus Ryback in a battle of the strengths. Mark Henry was able to pick up the win here in a, 8-minute match. Nothing too great. Nothing too great about this match. Both very strong but slow workers. Ryback was never a favorite of mine. So, nothing that I was looking forward to in this match besides, I love Mark Henry. Mark Henry is one of my favorite wrestlers, but this match, they didn't click. Him and Ryback just didn't click, in my opinion. After this, we got Team Hell No, the tag team champions, versus Big E, Langston, and Dolph Ziggler with AJ Lee. This is when Big E was Dolph Ziggler's security guard, and Dolph Ziggler had the Money in the Bank championship, Money in the Bank briefcase to cash in at any time. There was talk that he would cash in at WrestleMania, but it never came to fruition. Plans were nixed the day of. So, I thought that would have been cool, but never happened. Team Hell No would pick up the win in a very good 6-minute tag team match, in my opinion. I enjoyed the tag team match. By the way, if you're wondering why none of these matches are going